Welcome to Broadcast Astrology, Insight for Humans.
This is Lisa Pesnichak.
And I'm Sarah Beckner, and we're here to deep dive into the fascinating world of astrology.
We offer blind chart readings, interviews with notable guests, and much more.
So keep listening as we bring you Insight for Humans.
Hello, everybody. We're here with Merryman Cassels. She is our guest astrologer today, and I'm so excited for all of you to get to know her. She's a magical woman who, as you'll soon learn, has a huge breadth of knowledge as far as astrology goes, as well as many other more esoteric approaches. So let's jump in.
Do you want to start, Merryman, by telling us how you found your way to this work?
I'd love to. It's a lot of fun to share because back in 2002, the fall of 2002, my father-in-law was visiting him in the North Carolina mountains. He was keeping bees, and the bees called me. And actually, that Christmas, Santa Claus brought beehives for Christmas that year. And I actually spent the winter with my daughter becoming certified as North Carolina State certified beekeepers, and very rapidly found that's sort of my dynamic. Got a lot of Virgo in me, have to do it, have to jump through the hoops, have the certificate. And I started keeping bees, and really the bees started keeping me, talking to me. Bees live in frequency and vibration. This is their language. And as my relationship grew with the bees around 2008, I became a no treatment beekeeper or organic beekeeper, because not wanting to put all the things in the honey and into the bees and the honey that we wouldn't want in our own bodies. And then who are we to start playing with nature this way? So I am getting to where we're talking about, but I really started having this profound relationship where the bees were really communicating with me what they needed. And I was listening, and I would listen, and then sometimes my head would get back in the way and I'd lose a hive or whatever, but learning. And then even it was right before the end of my marriage, I lived on a golf course, and the greenskeeper called and said, "Oh my gosh, there's a swarm." And I was like, "I'm on it." And went to retrieve the swarm, and it was still too large. And when I walked out my back door the next morning, the bees were waiting in a bundle on the butterfly bush outside my door. And so these bees, they stayed with me the next 8 years through my divorce and through the start of my new business and through my first classes with astrology, stepping into this, guiding me forward. And actually, when not that hive, but the hive after it swarmed, I knew I would be leaving North Carolina because they had swarmed and left, and I knew I would be leaving. So what does that have to do with the Akashic records and astrology? Well, the Akashic records, we are all vibrational beings, not just the bees. And we carry a frequency and vibration within us, and it is an eternal vibration. And so when we're working in the Akash, we're actually tapping into a little access point there. And we're receiving the information we need in that moment. And time again, what I've learned is magic is real. It is absolutely real, and it is here for us to access. It wants us to access it. And I think Rick Tarnas, listening to him back at UAC in 2017 and then reading in Cosmos and Psyche, I'm gonna slaughter what he tries to say, but talking about how through time we went from knowing our place here on this planet with our creator, with one another, with the bees and the trees and all of the animals that roam, all the sentient beings that roam, to a place of needing to feel like we have to go through someone else to access our own divinity. And the bees have really shown me through their eternal hive. The bees live for 30 days, the queen can live for 2 years, but this hive is continuous. And here we are, this human hive right now. We're a pretty angry hive at the moment, but pretty activated hive right now. But we are still in our own hum. We are still raising the frequency and the vibration of our own being, because we're saying it's not working. So I have really been fascinated as I've studied astrology. I first started studying in 2015, really actively. I began with Deborah Silverman, and then have worked my way through the School of Traditional Astrology with the Horary, and working with Michael Bryan, like y'all, and also Ann Orderly and other teachers along the way. while simultaneously working with Sandra Gelinas, working with the Akashic records. And I found that the two modalities together are very profound. If you are looking at a chart and you open up the records, we do have beautiful rubrics to go through, but sometimes the chart wants to pop open and give you a message.
Mm.
And that's where it can be very powerful to cut to the chase.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I was
long
going to
answer.
ask you, why you would, because the study of astrology is just so rigorous, that if you can just open the door to those records and get what you need, what compels you to dive into the astrology to the level that you do?
Such a critical question, because to really be a good communicator, I think you have to be well read. I think you have to be well versed. I think you have to know the structure in order to tether what comes through, to tether the truth to a foundation.
It's actually, as you say that, I think about the Saturn Neptune conjunction coming, the need to tie that magic into something that is grounded in the earth plane, that is something that's part of our environment and our collective experience. Yeah.
I think it's critical. And it was interesting. I had a woman who came through yesterday. I'm in my office right now. She's a psychic medium and a well-known one. And she had come through for an Akashic Records reading. And one of the things that really came through was the critical importance of having elders who carry history, people who've walked this earth. I was born in 1965, so I've experienced a few different phases of this planet, and a lot of history, a lot of education, a lot of books under my belt, so to speak. So I have a lot to pull from to tether what's coming through. If we don't know our history, of course, we're doomed to repeat it, right?
Mhm.
And so carrying a lot of this, we want to move forward, not just in a chaos of my guides told me this or the records told me this. It has to come down and tether and have some gravitas, so to speak.
So it sounds like your clients are really deeply steeped in, you're probably accessing a lot of the psychic information that's coming in right now. Do you want to touch on some of the themes and what's from a larger scale been coming up for everybody and what seems to be the larger picture that we're all moving through?
100%. I think what is so powerful, as we've all witnessed in the last week, seeing Venus station direct, and she's doing her dance with Saturn right now in a node, and also the full moon in Libra. And I noted myself how much Lilith was coming up through my own being. And then I was surprised to see her showing up so many other places in other people's conversations. So I haven't even had the chance to talk to Sarah about it, but I had this mala that I'm wearing. I said magic is real. I was in Nepal last month. I go to the temple of the Vajrayogini right outside of Kathmandu, and I'm standing there with a crowd of people. The priest zooms in, looks at me, and he says, Zodiac.
Love it.
Wow.
And I was like, yes. And my friend Sita looks at him, he's like, do you follow her on Instagram? But at the temple of the Vajrayogini, they're not checking out Merriman on Instagram.
Right.
Sure. But it was funny. He looked at her like she had two heads, and he took off his own mala and he consecrated it. And he said, these are made from fossils. And so they carry the ancient wisdom. And so you're to work with this and a mantra every day. And he couldn't hand it to me gently. He handed it to somebody who handed it to me because he can't touch you or me. So I received this. And so I've been doing this mantra, and it's taking me down to the bones. What's happening? We are being taken down to our bones. We are being picked clean. We are having our anxieties brought to the fore, our insecurities brought to the fore, so that we can really, truly begin to build ourselves anew. And knowing that magic is real, I sat down at dinner at a birthday party on Friday night next to a woman named Annie Williams. an amazing woman. And she wrote the book Guardians of the Dragon's Path. She carries so much esoteric wisdom, and she also is a harpist. And we were having a conversation, and she said, I'm going to send you the mantra to start building yourself back up. So here it is. We're being taken down to the ground, whether we like it or not, whether we're intentionally working with a deity and asking for this, or we're just blindly slipping off the street curb and falling in the street. We are being taken down to be rebuilt. But the interesting thing is, I had just been talking about Richard Rudd the day before in a reel, and Richard Rudd was on her property where she lives north of the Magdalene Caves, and had discovered some type of well or water structure there that she didn't even know existed. But what was so interesting in what he's writing is that we are light and dark. And whether we're talking about the Black Madonna or whether we're talking about our own being, the light and the dark. And so as the light is coming in and we are being rebuilt, we are actually growing into or evolving into what he calls Homo sanctus, the sacred human. And Ani had such an interesting vision that she shared about Prophecy Rock here, and seeing how we are evolving as humans right now. And some people are going this way and some people are going this way. So what are the themes? We're seeing the light and the dark and the merging of the light and the dark, even as we are being stripped down and rebuilt.
Beautiful.
Oh, to hear you talk about sacred humans makes me think about what's happening with the AI and the technology. And as we move to Uranus and Gemini and get this explosion, like, what will our role be? If we can't find that sacredness within us, and if we can't manifest the creative potential within us, everything else can be done. It will be able to be done by computer, by machine.
And does this give us the opportunity to truly live with the land and to truly give over some of the things that we've held so sacred and be back with the land, be back with the trees, be back with the water, be back in ceremony as our daily life? I thought it was interesting. I have a fellow who's renovating my casita, and we were having coffee this morning, and he was talking about how everything, and AI included, it already existed. It's all of these things are already in existence, whether it's a television or radio or AI or internet. It's when do we align with that frequency? Again, frequency. When do we align with that frequency? And when we're in alignment with that frequency, then we're starting to see the plan. Like, this is the plan all along. And I don't know if y'all been listening to the telepathy tapes.
Yes.
Yeah.
They're fascinating. Yeah.
All right, here it's right there bubbling up in the zeitgeist.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So I think what you're saying is that this, and I think that this, some of this might be my own interpretation too, because I've been doing a lot of deep diving into stuff, is that we're leveling up in a way, and that we need to release, which is part of the breakdown that we're going through now, like maybe more of this dense energy of our being in order to resonate with a less dense being. And then this technology is going to keep running through. And I think that when we look at the astrology for the next couple years, with all of the fast moving, the planets in fast moving, technologically driven signs, that it's so fascinating to see how that would happen. But what is your advice as we step into this really fast moving new reality for people who are maybe feeling really lost, maybe feeling that the sludging off of our old dense being is really uncomfortable? What do you tell people who come to see you who are really struggling with this process, who might not have the advantage of tools like astrology or the Akashic records to lean on, that who are experiencing this without those vantage points?
Great. Thank you, Lisa. I mean, it's very real. The agitation is huge. It's very real. We don't know how to exist quite in this frequency yet. And the answer is always there. And I love scripture as well. And it is be still and I'm near. This is a very true guideline for us in this time, and that is to get still. I think we ramp up our activity. We are seeking answers. We're asking Google and ChatGPT and everybody else we can what to do, how to feel better, how to calm down. I think it's really being present. I think it's being present with what you're putting in your body, realizing that, that everything is not good for us. We really need to be very, very careful what we're ingesting. And as we see our own government, our own culture breaking down, as we are breaking down simultaneously, that is as above, so below, we're up and down the pipe. It is that place of moving into stillness, moving into the meditation, moving into the flow, the divine flow, or the honey flow, so to speak, but the divine flow of realizing we are, and I'll go back to scripture again, we are being fearfully and wonderfully made or remade in this time. And why is this? So that we can remember the gift of incarnation, the gift of embodiment, why we have the axis mundi and the spirit comes into matter through the mother. And we have this experience to be in the joy of the full spectrum of what it is to be incarnate. And that is from the greatest joy to the deepest sorrow. But that's why we're here, because when we are disincarnate, when we're just out there, consciousness, we're not experiencing the deep love and appreciation and community that we all share.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
There's something about our incarnated self that connects us, that ties us to the free will. I feel like that's part of what we're doing here is a change occurs here. It occurs in human form because here's where we live in the duality and we're given the option to exercise that free will to move towards our own growth. But I was thinking, Merryman, as you were speaking, I agree with you, and it sounds easier said than done. It sounds being still. It's a simple but very challenging directive. But I was thinking about, I did want to touch on the dream work you do today, and you just
We're
made me
going there
think about it because I have worked with dreams for a long time in my life. I've played around with things. I've played around with lucid dreaming. I've gone through periods of recording dreams. But when you introduced me to the dream work that you do, that felt so powerful to me, even though I had been exploring dreams my whole life. And so I wonder if there's some way that in the midst of all this right now, we are supposed to be in community because it seemed to take it to another place. And so I can sit in my world, I can do my meditation, I can find my stillness. But somehow I think there's something very potent in connecting with others around all of this. So, yeah, do you want to tell us? I mean, the dream work would just be one iteration of being in community with the intention of channeling spirit, I would say. But tell us in your own way what that's about.
Boy, I mean, this is my favorite topic of all, and I didn't even know that I was going to wind up here. I think being all mutable in my chart, it just flow where I flow. But the dream work, thank you, Sarah. It is so powerful. It is so powerful that it has scared me a bit, to be honest. And I've had to step back and recalibrate as I'm being rebuilt to catch my breath and to understand the gravity of what is coming through, because I do feel that the gravity of what's coming through with this when it's really out there and it's got a life of its own. And I'm like, are you ready for myself? The dream work is so, so powerful. I've done dream work for years with a wonderful teacher in England that I've studied the wonderful traditions of European gynocentric shamanism is ultimately what it is. It's the women's traditions, often through the hide, the serpent, and the bee would be the most beautiful way to distill it. Both of those beautiful energies. And when we are dreaming together, Martin Luther King said one of the last lines of his I Have a Dream speech is, nothing in this world came into existence without a dream. So nothing in this world came into existence. And even as we are speaking about AI was always out there somewhere in the field, the internet was always out there in the field, the airplane was always out there in the field. This is out there in the field too, as we are rising up, as we are evolving. And I love it that somebody pointed out that evolved, the first 4 letters are love spelled backwards. So I've never heard that before. But when we are dreaming together, we are visioning this new world that we want to live in, the one where we truly are happy, joyous, and free. We may mourn the loss of a life that we love or disappointment, but we're not living in the state of attachment that we are right now and this anxiety that we are right now. But when we meet in this liminal space with a shared prompt and we bring our dreams together and we reweave all of those salient points, we just include salient points. When we reweave these, we start seeing what we collectively, what our heart feels. It's not what our mind thinks we need to create. It's not what our education tells us we can do or our job tells us we can do. This is where we're able to vision something that is truly in alignment with the sacred human.
Yeah. So just to clarify for the listener, you provide a prompt.
Yes. Based on the astrology.
Based on the astrology that people sit with as they drift off into sleep. They record their impressions and their dreams, and then in the morning, pull one or two statements, salient points, and you weave all of those together. You collect them from everyone and weave them into some kind of story or narrative that is a message. To me, it felt like almost like using humans as antenna to receive the transmission in a collective way from the subconscious or the unconscious and bringing it to light. But it did feel so big to me when you're busted open, when your heart is really busted open and you become so open to symbolic discernment to where you really see the messages and life just kind of open up as a living communication. I felt that strongly with the dreaming.
I love that. And I'm going to pick it back up. It's interesting to meet Ani. There's a quote from her book about the pearl is guarded. Oh my gosh, I'm going to have to pull this out. It is so profound. I'm going to pull this out and read it to you. The pearl shall be revealed in the numinous cave of your mind. A dragon guards the path to the treasury you may find. Now, this is what's so interesting because I feel like right now we're in a space where that serpent energy, that dragon energy that has become vilified or eradicated, that it's begging to come forward at this time. And this is the true magic. This is the truth of our being. We are luminous beings, and we've forgotten this. And so I'm almost equating the dream work. It's not AI, it's RI, it's real intelligence.
Yes.
We're stepping into real intelligence. So this is not manufactured off of collecting all of the data in a soulless way and resubmitting it or reweaving it into something that might be flowery and beautiful. It is going to the real place of what's happening inside of you and you and you and me and weaving this together and then looking at us saying, oh my gosh, we are a living miracle.
And we're all so connected. And that's I feel like one of the things that we forget is that we're all connected luminous beings. Like we're not just luminous beings, but we're all luminous beings that are all part of the same source. We're all God in some semblance.
Right.
And part of the challenge of being human is that that's taken away from us when we're born and we have to remember it. Like we probably know when we're little, but society makes us forget. And society at large, human society at large has forgotten that and put us all in little boxes and have lots of personal space when that's just all an illusion. And I think that what you're doing is so powerful. And my dream space is my favorite.
Well, I'm going to start it right back up too. Mercury's doing his job.
Oh my gosh. When Merryman showed up right on time, but it wasn't part of our scheduled time, but it was perfect. And I told Sarah, it makes sense. Mercury's very close to Neptune right now. So we are definitely in the liminal space of time.
Absolutely. Yeah. And that's another thing. What am I seeing? People coming in, they're very confused. Their communications are very distorted. Folks are very agitated and confused because they don't really understand and they can't really ask anyone and get an answer. And this is again this call to go inside and the call to meet in the dream space, because this is our truth in that dream space.
Yes. Yeah, I agree. All right.
And
No, good. Keep
no,
going.
I think about Paul Stamets' work working with the mycelia and the underground system with
Oh, yeah.
the fun. Yeah, we're the same thing.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
And we're part of that. We're part of much more than we could ever even comprehend.
Yeah.
For sure. Sarah, any other questions, or Merryman, any place else you want to go with our discussion this afternoon?
I'm just excited. I'm working to build an app. One component of it is the Astrology in Real Life, and that is with the shamanic wisdom of the bees, or for the ambitious entrepreneur, or for recovery and codependency. I really am proud that my recovery journals, they are approved by AA World Services. They are not endorsed because they do not endorse, but they are approved. And I think that's a component. I think astrology is a great gateway into it, but there's a dreaming component with it. So the prompts come with dreams with it that everyone will be able to collectively put them in to be woven. And I'm really excited. We're going to create a story. The people at least associated with that app will be dreaming forward. Yeah.
Powerful work, Merryman. Yes, I have some of your planners and I've always enjoyed them. And yeah, they're great guides for sure. And what kind of, oh, go ahead, Sarah.
Oh, I was just going to ask if you want to let us know where we find you, Merryman. Where do people find you? Where do they learn more?
Oh, thank you. It's merrymancassels.com, MERRYMAN, like a happy person. And Cassels is CASSELS. So merrymancassels.com. And it's interesting. We've had this incredible period of the pileup of planets at the end of Pisces. And I think we've all felt like we've been swimming against the tide. And this is shifting very rapidly for us. It's going to start going really fast. Right now, I'm recalibrating, rebuilding myself to start marching again and to give themselves grace in that space.
Definitely. Yeah, I live in the mountains in Colorado and the snow's just melting. And I was looking at the ground underneath where the snow had just melted and everything it seemed very Piscean because it hadn't seen the sun in a long time and everything was really wilted and there were a lot of pieces of natural matter that were decayed. And it just felt like that's largely where we are right now. But then there's so much hope in that, and that everything moving into Aries and other places is going to bring, like you said, this rapid growth. So,
yeah. But it's going to feel very different.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Well, I'm glad that we have people like you to lean on to get some insight. And I know you're always so inspiring to me and just love the path that you are on. So very honored to have you as a part of my astrology circle.
Well, I mean, both of you, both of you I just adore, admire you, and so infinitely grateful that we were brought together to walk forward at this time. And we know that was all part of our soul's plan.
Absolutely.
One of my spiritual practices, Merryman, is just to find evidence. I'm always looking for evidence of the miraculous. And every time I talk to you, you always have more evidence. You've either gone off to Kathmandu or you're always in something, but I think you're on that journey too. Like, can we find it? Can we find it here now?
It's living in the magic. It is really living in the magic. And it's when I try to control the magic that everything goes flat. It's when I show up and my heart is open, my mind is open, and I'm just willing to accept that I'm handed a mala in Kathmandu and given a mantra.
I'm not surprised. I'm
Not either. Not at all. Well, thank you for sharing this time with us. Really appreciate it. Thanks for sharing your wisdom with our listeners, and we'll put your information in the show notes. As always, thanks for listening to Broadcast Astrology Insight for Humans. And if you're so inclined, like, follow, and subscribe, and please don't be a stranger.
Signing off for now. Until next time, humans, keep your gaze upwards on the stars and be well. We look forward to sharing more soon.